time. Thank you, Laurie. Oh, it's so good to be with you. I tell you, I love... This place is wonderful, and it's by a beautiful village, which I live in a beautiful village. I live in a little village in Bedfordshire. Small village, very old-fashioned. We don't go in for anything newfangled like these porno videos, you know. Once a week, someone just volunteers to leave his curtains open. Very old-fashioned. When I moved into the area, I think we're the first new people in this village for 100 years, maybe centuries. Very, very closed community. The farmer from next door came round. He said, "I'd like you to meet my wife and sister." And there was just the one woman standing there. But like everywhere, you get crime, don't you? We had a burglar. What was it, last November? We had a burglar. What a sod. Didn't steal the video, didn't steal the television set, stole the remote control. And then drove by every evening for 3 months, changing channels. I love coming here. I drove here, I came through, is anyone from Reading here? I came through the Royal Borough of Reading. Oh, it's something about Berkshire people. They've got a great sense of humor. I didn't know whether I could get anything to eat here, so I thought I'll buy a loaf of bread. I'll be able to make myself a sandwich. So I went to a little corner shop in Reading, typical Berkshire character behind the counter. I said, "I'd like to buy some bread." He said, "We're not having any bloody bread." We're not being a bloody bakery here. We're being a bloody convenience store here. All we are having left is muffins. I said, "What's the difference?" He says, "There's 2 F's in muffin, there's no F in bread, get out." Oh, I didn't hang about, because I've only just got back to the country. I flew back from a very quick 6-week tour overseas. I've been feeling fruity, you know, even at my age. You feel, you know, after 6 weeks of celibacy, my God, I phoned my wife from Heathrow, and I said, "I'm thinking about the last time we made love," and I'm getting all excited. And she said, "Ooh," she did. She said, "Ooh, who is this?" And I said, "That's great, now welcome home." Because you know, Laurie, you know where I've been out in the Middle East, because we still have a military presence in Saudi Arabia, keeping an eye on Saddam and all that, you know. We got about 1,200 military out there, all boys and girls in various shades of khaki, blue. We did 2 shows for them, 600 in each audience. It's funny, you do a gag in the Middle East, the boys and girls from Britain, they laugh at the joke. But around the perimeter, they're Saudi guards. They speak perfect English, but they don't laugh at the jokes. Because the Arabs have no jokes. Now, I'm not being racist here. It's a fact. Because the Arabs are culturally different from us. They do everything the other way around from you and me. You know that they read the other way around. And they write, obviously, the other way around. They do everything the other way around. In the Middle East, you commit adultery, you get stoned. Now, you and I do that the other way around. I was out in Japan, that was fascinating. Do you ever been in Japan? I've never been there before, my first visit. And they say the Japanese language is very difficult. It's not that difficult. Certain words are easy. Like Japanese for baby's nappy is asako pupu. Now that's easy. You can't forget that. Grounds for divorce, a lakanuki. That's easy. And there is a lakanuki. In Japan, they have no time for it. The work ethic in Japan is unbelievable, isn't it, Laurie? Absolutely unbelievable. You and I work hard when we get the chance. But they work so hard. There's never any time for any romantic dalliance. You ask any Japanese businessman, they'll tell you, as far as he's concerned, lust is just something which is attacking his Toyota. And you didn't ask them how often they have elections, whereas in Red China... I was in Red China, I couldn't believe it. We were filming there, and I realized I was surrounded by 1,000 million people. That's how many they reckon there are. In Red China, 1,000 million. You can't even imagine that, can you? That's because they're, unlike the Japanese, they never stop. Ooh, ooh, ooh. They're at it like knives. Oh, yes, because there's only 3 things to do in Red China. You can read a wall poster or pick some rice or ooh, ooh, ooh. Which would you do? Of course you do. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So they're at it, and there's 1,000 million of them. And they have no birth control. Well, not as you and I understand it. They don't have the pill. They can't afford it. It's a very primitive, very poor society. Can't even afford the coil. That little intrauterine device. I don't know. I know you girls, you women are so brave. You have these gadgets inserted. My wife was fitted with a coil for about 18 months. I hated it. Used to pick up CB signals. Oh, no, that's awful. You're in the middle of making love, you breaker. Rubber duck come back. What? The only way they can control the population in China is by legislation. They have a law. A Chinese father and husband is allowed to have 2 children, that's it. If he has more than 2 children, they stop him. I don't want to upset you or say anything that would be dismaying to you. I'll show you how I'll give you a hint how they stop him having any more children. That's it. An Oriental Frankie Vaughan and the family jewels, he's out of the running. That's the original Chinese takeaway I'm showing you. And that's evolution for you. That's why, over centuries, Chinese fellas have developed sort of squinty eyes and prominent teeth. Comes from hundreds of years of going, I'm not knocking the Chinese, I have greatest respect. Ancient civilization, they had civilization 4,000 years before we did. Incredible, isn't it? Who else but the Chinese could have discovered that prawns had balls that size? Isn't that fascinating? I knew you'd have noticed. You go to a Chinese restaurant and the prawns themselves are only about this big. But the prawn balls are this big. No wonder their eyes are out on bloody stalks, eh? I like flying. I do. I like traveling. My wife doesn't like it. I like it. I object to some of the silly things they say on planes. Like they say, in the event of an emergency, put your head between your legs. My God, if I could do that, I'd never leave the house. Anybody here with fear of flying? Anybody with a fear of flying? Yes, yes, yes. Believe me, I understand, but I want to tell you something. You haven't got a fear of flying. You think you have a fear of flying, you haven't. What you have a fear of is being 2 miles up in a plane and suddenly not flying. You definitely don't have a fear of flying. If you're 2 miles up in a plane and the tail drops off, you're going to go, flying is my favorite. I don't like airline food. That's the reason I don't like flying. Their food is worse than my wife's, and you can't imagine that. Last week, she served me something for dinner. It was so foul, I gave it to the dog, and he licked his ass to get the taste out of his mouth. The worst food I ever tasted on any aircraft was TWA. Do you remember that airline? It went bust. I'm not surprised. One of their planes, I'm sorry, it crashed into the Pacific, but it did. And the sharks ate the crew and ate all the customers. But they refused to touch the chicken Kiev. And now I fly BA, I fly the flag. And you know those air stewardesses, whatever they're called now, flight attendants, they're getting older. But they can't fire them because they're getting older. That would be wrong, but they're turning into your mother. They're getting fatter, they're getting more maternal. They're going, eat the food, eat the food, eat the food. They give you the dinner, I can't eat the dinner. I couldn't finish the dinner. The woman said, finish the dinner, she said. She said, there are people starving on Air India. I thought, what the hell are you talking about? We flew in, must say, good flight, but on the landing, just as we came into Heathrow, the plane went like that. And as I got off the plane, I passed the pilot. I said, excuse me, nice flight, thank you. But as we came in, why did the plane go? And he said, I don't know. I had an affair once with an air hostess. Well, this was years ago when you called them air stewardesses, and she was overtrained. She couldn't forget her training, even when we were about to make love. She said, welcome to the bed. Please extinguish all cigarettes and ensure the bedroom door remains closed at all times. Kindly place my seat in an upright position. Prepare for takeoff. And do not attempt to exit until we've both come to a complete halt. And what she meant when she said, place over the nose and mouth and breathe normally is nothing to do with you. Well, I may be an old guy now, but I've had my affairs. I've had my amours. Oh, sure, I wish I had £1 for every woman I'd satisfied. I'd have £1.50. I knew nothing. I mean, we didn't have sex education. My generation wasn't educated at school. We had biology. They explained the menstrual cycle is something only girls have. I thought, oh, no crossbar. That's all right. Little basket on the front. Remember my first real woman, the first time I ever got into bed with a real woman. She knew she was the first one I'd ever got into bed with. She knew. As soon as I tried to inflate her, she knew. What's he doing with that bicycle pump shirt? Later she came to love it, but that's another story. She acted coy. She said, be gentle. I said, don't worry about that. I just finished. But she was good. I mean, I was only about, I don't know, 18, 19. She got me going again. And you know, a young man that age, my God, I wasn't bad. I performed fairly well. As soon as I'd finished, she went in the bathroom. She came out with a baby. She said, this is yours. You've got to support him. I said, I didn't know you could have a baby that fast. She said, that's how good you were. I was a very good-looking youth. I was not. I had the pimples. I was a little stout. And I used to go out with a girl. She was not attractive. Her name was Roberta. I didn't realize how ugly she was until one day I took her for a walk in the woods and she found truffles. She went to Ireland. They made her put a bag over her head before she could kiss the Blarney Stone. This is ugly, right? I'm talking about wolf ugly. Do you know what I mean by wolf ugly? Wolf ugly is when you wake up in the morning and you find you've got your arm round her, and rather than wake her up, you chew your own arm off. But you know, I was desperate. I'd take anything. And the scent of a woman, the scent of a woman. She used to put something behind her ears that drove me wild. Her knees. Roberta. Her name was Roberta. Did I mention that? My name was Robert. I was christened Robert. They shortened it to Bob. They shortened her name to Bobby. Then her friends called her Bob. We were the two Bobs. We were going around together. We were the two Bobs. Hello, Bob. Hello, Bob. And Bob, Bob. There's Bob, Bob. She used to call out my name. While we were having sex, she'd go, Bob, Bob. I think she meant me. She could have meant her, I don't know, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I called out her name. I went, Bob. Very strange to hear us going, Bob, 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 Bob. Sounded as if we were shagging in a Swiss valley, ladies and gentlemen. I used to go out with women nobody else wanted. I went out with a girl, I like a chubby lady. I love that. I admire ladies with flesh on them. My favorite sort of woman is a woman who's so big you can fondle her all night and never touch the same place twice. But this woman was so big. First time I had sex with her, 5 minutes getting on top. 5 minutes it took me, clambering on top. Then I started getting off. She said, where are you going? I said, I want to turn the light out. The bulb is burning my ass. But I didn't start out early, you see. I was a slow developer. My mother never wanted to have me. My mother never wanted me. When I was born, she was 39 months pregnant when I was born. Putting it off. When I was a babe in arms, little baby, my mother tried to kill me. I'm sorry, it sounds serious, but I'm telling you the truth. She denied it, of course. She told the police she thought the plastic bag would keep me fresh. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I grew up, I didn't feel wanted. My father couldn't do much. I don't want to talk about my father, if you don't mind. I'd rather not discuss it, if you don't mind. Well, it's private. Excuse me. No, it's private matter. He was a very unlucky man, my father. Oh, all right, then. He was unlucky. He was an incontinent trapeze artist, my father. That is unlucky. Don't you think that's unlucky? His audiences weren't all that lucky when you think about it. So I grew up knowing nothing about you wonderful women. I was a teenager. I wasn't very good looking as a teenager. I couldn't get girls my own age to go out with me. I had to settle for going out with an older woman. I never found out how old she was. But one day when I told her actor age, she died. I knew nothing about women in those days. I went into the RAF. I was called up in the RAF. I met my first wife, and I was a virgin. I swear to God, I knew nothing. I'd never been touched. She, on the other hand, had been around. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. She told me I was 1 in a million. I found out later she was telling the bloody truth. And I'm afraid I was unfaithful. I'm ashamed of myself, but I was a young man. I was discovering life. I had a relationship with a woman in my car. We were alone in my car for about an hour and a half and having a good time. And then I was overcome with fear that my wife would find out. So I cleaned that car as no car has ever been cleaned. The interior of that car was spotless, spotless. There wasn't a trace of powder, hairpin, nothing. 3 days later, I'm driving with my wife in the same car. There's a sudden downpour of rain. The windows mist up on the inside. Footprint here. You see, I find it's very strange because young people can't understand it when old people have sex. It's very difficult for young people to understand, but we do. We do, but it's hard to imagine. I mean, you can't imagine your parents ever doing it, can you? But they must have done, or you wouldn't be here, would you? You can't imagine. Well, maybe him, but not with her. Of course, it's not so urgent. A man, when he reaches mature age, is not driven like a maniac. But you guys, young guys, at the age of 18, for example, your sperm count was 500,000. Did you know that? At the age of 18, you're at your sexual peak, and your sperm count is 500,000. I had a sperm count 7 weeks ago. The doctor told me I was down to 3. And 2 of those have got arthritis. And I do my best. I try to stay lively. A man must. You know, sex is not a spectator sport. It's a contact sport. You've got to stay lively. If I have any message for men here, it's don't worry about age. My God, it doesn't matter. You can still, if you try. I like to stay modern. I like to have a mirror in the bedroom. When I make love to my wife, I have a mirror in the bedroom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Stick it under her nose, see if she's still breathing. Because my wife's not as keen on it as I am. I'm being very honest with you. She's about 10 years younger than me. She feels old age creeping up on her whenever I can manage it. She's not as keen. But I stay very, very lively. You've got to keep the stamina going. Do you know, I made love to my wife. Forgive me being so personal with you, but I'm telling you the truth now. I made love to my wife. It was a Saturday night, March the 28th, I think. It's in the diary. I mean, considering the age I am, listen to this. I made love to my wife for an hour and 3 minutes. I'm not kidding you. I'm not talking about wimpy hand-holding. I'm talking about passionate, ardent lovemaking. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real thing. For 63 minutes. It's absolutely incredible. It's not a joke. I just had to tell somebody. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you for your applause. For those of you who didn't applaud, all right, it was the night we put the clocks forward, but... That's not the point. That's academic. You know who buys condoms in this country? 54% of the condoms sold in this country are bought by women. By women. You women buy them. Oh, yes. How many women here in the Lakeside tonight have bought condoms within the last 7 days? Suddenly it's Catholic night at the Lakeside. I'll do the rest of the act in Latin. Women buy fancy condoms. This is what it says. Statistically, men buy plain condoms, absolutely plain ones, because they're practical. But women buy the fancy ones. Different colors, different shapes, little knobs and ribs, little bumps, little ticklers and feathers on them. You can make shadow puppets with these things. Look, a bunny rabbit. Hop, hop, hop. Different colors. What's the colors about? What things the colors about? That's fantasy, right, ladies? Am I guessing right? You put a green one on your partner. Have him stand on the bed going, ho, ho, ho. Squeeze the sprouts. And flavor. They're different flavors now. When did you develop taste buds down there? You can buy them every kind of flavor. I bought a whole box. Wild strawberry. I tasted one. Well, that box was empty before I knew it. They're so Moorish. They're like bubble gum, except you can blow much bigger bubbles. And now they've got them so they glow. Do you know about these? They glow in the dark. Oh, my slut of a sister, her face lights up when she sees one of these. They shine brightly in the darkness. What's the point of that? I mean, what is that for? I can see it as a bit of a giggle during foreplay. But you don't want a luminous dong when you get down to serious sex. You're going in and out, you'd strobe. What's someone going to think if they're watching your window from outside in the dark? What's going on in there? I don't know. I think somebody's opening and closing the fridge very fast. These days, they didn't have them when I was young. Sex toys, marvelous. I took my wife to an adult toy shop. An adult toy shop. They sell these things. They sell stuff I've never heard of. Do you know about edible panties? Edible underwear? Do you know about this? Edible panties. My wife said, why don't we try those? I don't eat her cooking. I'm not going to eat her knickers. Mr. Swell Guy, the cream. Mr. Swell Guy. You heard of this? Man's supposed to take this Mr. Swell Guy, like that, and rub it on his reproductive equipment, and it'll make it much, much bigger. Well, wouldn't it make his hands bigger, too? Shouldn't be too difficult to figure out who's using this stuff, should it? Walking around dragging his knuckles behind it. And inflatable women, isn't this pathetic, ladies? Men have reached the point where they're sleeping with balloons. I ask you. Helga, your inflatable girlfriend, she never gets a headache. Know what you do after you've blown the bloody thing up? Takes 20 minutes to blow, I'm told, to blow. And you know, men, when they want sex, they want it now, now. Women are different. Women, when they feel stimulated, they feel desire, they want to be built up slowly from plateau to plateau. They want to be just teased up the mountain until they reach the pinnacle of enjoyment. But a man who wants it now, he doesn't want to spend 20 minutes going, oh, bugger, I don't need the arm. I do my best, ladies, I swear to God. I do my utmost. Before I went away 6 weeks ago, I tried to keep my wife happy. I really did, because I don't want anyone stealing her. She's very precious to me. And I took her to an Ann Summers. Do you know these shops? You ever heard of these shops? If you know about them, you know about them. If you don't know about them, let me explain. They're sex shops. They don't sell sex. They're completely blank shop fronts. You can't see anything in the window. They can't put anything in the window because they sell martial aids. This is for people who are... Don't laugh at it. Don't mock if you don't understand. These are wonderful things. Lonely men can go in there. They can buy things that comfort them. You know, crime would take place. If it wasn't there, little comforting things you can buy in these shops, like Lovable Lulu. Do you know about Lovable Lulu? This is a flat-pack vinyl woman, a polyvinyl woman. Flat-pack polyvinyl woman. And it says on the box, and they should get them. Under the Trade Descriptions Act, they should have them. Because it says on the box, just like a real woman. How many real women do you know sleep like this? One, okay, 2, 3, oh, 5, okay. Okay, 11, okay. That's not the point I'm making. Sleeping with balloons. For shame. Like, the man takes this thing back to, I don't know, some privacy, some hidey hole, some hotel room probably, and he inflates it, apparently, I understand, He uses, I imagine, a bicycle pump, I should think, if he's wise. But if you try to do it with your own breath, it gives you stars in front of your eyes. You can't do anything for an hour. God, I must have sat in the toilet for nearly 2 hours. And you can't get passionate with it. I bit mine on the neck, it farted and flew out the window. It had gone out the window. Bloody gone. No satisfaction in that. You buy these vibrators. Have you seen these things? I'm not talking about shoddy goods, don't be ashamed. I'm talking about beautiful artifacts. These vibrators, they say they're for your neck. Get out of here. Yeah, 35 horsepower, rope starter. Oh, you buy your wife one of these, you come home, you're an anticlimax, don't you? They're beautifully made, they're lovely. In onyx and ivory and silver and gold. My wife said, I want the red one. I said, that's the fire extinguisher, don't even ask him. They got books there. I bought her books. She doesn't know anything about these things. I bought her Sex Without Guilt and Sex Without Fear. I was looking for a book for myself, Sex Without Partners, that's what I'm looking for. Huh? No, it's a handbook, I couldn't find it. And I'm at the airport. Laurie, I get to the airport because I'm catching a very early plane in the morning. She's phoning me at the hotel. She's read the books already. I mean, she couldn't wait. Got to do this. We've got to have, what is it? We've got to have mutual orgasm. My God, we can't even get our toast to pop up at the same time. What's a lesbian, she said. She's never heard of it. I said, don't worry about it. Lesbians are very lucky. Neither of them has to sleep on the wet spot. Leave it at that. You can learn things from these books. You can learn things I never knew. Did you know female midgets can't use tampons because they trip on the string? Did you know that? Amazed. I love doing game shows. I've had a lot of fun doing game shows. When I got to the London airport, there was a reporter there. He said, come on, Bob, I need something for an article. How many game shows have you done? We didn't go further back than the dawn of prehistory, my friends. We went back to the middle 60s. I'll test your memory now. Okay, Sunday afternoons, 1965-ish, live, up a bit, stop. Yes, thank you. Thank you for remembering the golden shot. Thank you for pronouncing it shot. I appreciate that. The golden shot, my heavens. You're older than you look, fancy remembering that. That goes back a bit. The old golden shot. Do you remember little Anne Aston? Yeah. She did the scoring on it, couldn't do it, couldn't keep score, couldn't do mental arithmetic. She was the scorer, made no sense. Couldn't add up, couldn't subtract. Had to take a sweater off to count to 2. She was used to it. But she was lovely. She had the dressing room next to mine. There was a little crack in the wall. Oh, I let her look. What's it to me? Share the wealth, I say. Anyway, we did that for the best part of 10 years. Then I went on to do a show called Celebrity Squares. The original run started in the mid-70s. Celebrity Squares, what was it? What a load of nonsense. Just a giant game of noughts and crosses, or as the Irish call it, circles and signatures. Good luck, good luck. Sorry, that's racist. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I said we're keeping it clean tonight. That is definitely a racist joke. I don't do those jokes. You get a fifth-rate comedian might come out on the stage tonight, ladies and gentlemen, do jokes about the Irish being hard of thinking. If you have Irish antecedents, please relax. I won't be doing any jokes of that kind. I'm ashamed of what these people do. I'm ashamed to be a fellow comedian to these men who will come out and say crude things like, what do you do? How do you get a one-armed Irishman out of a tree? You wave to him. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't demean myself doing a joke like that. Good heavens. I go hot at the thought, and they say wicked things. You know, what do you do if an Irishman throws a pin at you? You run like hell, he's got a grenade in his mouth. You'll never hear that from me, I promise you that. Make you that promise. So, we had a lot of fun on the old Celebrity Squares. I did that for about 4 years. Then I did a game called Family Fortunes. Mac Bygraves eventually took over from me, Les Dennis from him. But I did it for 4 years, Family Fortunes, and I love doing that game. Now, the game is great, Family Fortunes. If you've ever seen it, I'm sure you've enjoyed it. The problem with the game is this. You've got to find families with 5 intelligent people. Now, how many families do you know? There's no such thing. You don't get 5 intelligent members to a family. You're lucky if you get 1, and that's probably you. Did you feel my tongue against your buttock at that moment? Yes, my brown eyes match my nose. Now, you're probably, the top you'll get is 4 intelligent members in one family. That's the most you're going to get. You get a smart mom, a clever dad, a daughter who's quite bright, a son who can vaguely remember his own address, and that's it. So they try and think, who the hell else can we take? What other member of the family can we take along to make up the 5? And for some reason, they always used to bring along, I always felt his name was Uncle Ernie. It always seemed to be Uncle Ernie. And they didn't want to bring him, but they had to. So they'd stick him down the end of the line, hoping I'd never get there. And of course, I'd get there. And the other 4 would stiffen up with nerves. Hello, Uncle Ernie. We asked 100 people, name the capital of France. F. Good answer. Let's see if it's up there. From Family Fortune, Golden Shot, Celebrity Squares, Family Fortune. Then I went back to the BBC to do a show based on bingo called Bob's Full House, and a show called Bob Says, Opportunity Knocks. Oh, nice of you to shout. And you know, Opportunity Knocks was a lovely show to do. Do you know, I attended over 3 years of doing that show, presenting Opportunity Knocks. I attended over 7,000 auditions, and when you sit there from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 at night, watching audition after audition, each one taking about 5 minutes, when somebody gets up with a little bit of talent, a scintilla of ability, your heart lifts, your spirits soar. You sit through some of the other crap, it knackers you. You think we put lousy acts on TV, you should have seen what we turned out. We had one old man, he came back to the London auditions, what, 6 times? 7 times, I think this old bugger came back 7 times. And he sang the same garbage every time. And who told him? No one would tell him. No one would tell him. I had to tell him. I was the one. I had to be cruel to be kind. I said, Des. Why that Des Lynam thinks he can sing, I do not know. From there, after doing Bob's Full House for about 6 years, I went back to Central Television to do the $64,000 question, and Bob's your uncle. Ladies and gentlemen, look at me with some respect. You're looking at a man who's got away with more unadulterated shit on British television than anyone else alive. Thank you. A little laugh would have been enough for that. Now, I'm pulling your leg, of course. I've loved doing all those shows, and I know it's given a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. I'm glad of that, but sometimes I wonder how I got started. Maybe I've been giving away prizes for too long. I'm walking around. This part of the world, people are very bright. They spot you right away. I'm walking down the street, and they don't go, there's old Bob, but eat those junks. No. They go, that's Monkhouse. That is bleeding Monkhouse. He's got prizes. I'll keep him talking, you look for his van. I wasn't wearing my wristwatch this morning. I asked a fellow the time, he got it right, he expected a bloody food mixer. It's a damn good job I had one on me, they could have been around. So to come here, and be with you, and be with you, and be with Laurie Holloway and his marvellous orchestra here. What a joy to be with musicians again. I heard you play earlier tonight. Do you know, it put me in mind of Glenn Miller? Because I wished you'd get on a plane and bloody vanish. It's a joke. On drums, we have the incredible Harold. Harold, we're very proud of. This boy has such a sense of rhythm, they're making him an honorary Catholic. That's unusual, you know. Did I offend anybody? Oh, I do hope so. No, I didn't really know whether there were any Catholics in the audience, any left-footers here. I have the greatest respect. May I tell you, because tonight, just before I came out here, I was watching the TV, and get it right, Bob, His Holiness the Pope. I'm always afraid I'm going to say His Popiness the Whole. Wouldn't that be awful? Wouldn't that be rude? Wouldn't that be disrespectful? Or His Hopiness the Pole. That wouldn't be so bad, because he is a Pole. People say, why is there a Polish Pope? Why isn't there an Irish Pope? Because Southern Ireland is a Catholic country, excuse me, people have forgotten, there was an Irish Pope. He only ever did one miracle. He made a blind man lame. So we got rid of him. Waste of bloody time. On your bike, Your Holiness. He was marvellous tonight. His Holiness, he was wearing a lovely white gown, gold, off the shoulder, turned me on, to tell you the truth. I've been very lonely, 6 weeks since I saw the wife. And, you know, he looked very attractive, and he came down the steps from the plane, like he does always, you know, when he's in a new country. He was in somewhere beginning with Z in Africa, and he'd never been there. And he came down, and he prostrated himself on the tarmac, and he kissed the tarmac. I'm sorry. I promised myself I wouldn't let this happen. It's just when he kisses the tarmac, I feel... How lonely can a man be? I mean, for Christ's sake. I've been lonely. I've been bloody desperate. I draw the line at tarmac, I'll tell you that. I mean... I suppose if it was warm and lumpy, it'd be better than nothing. And he spake verily. He spake the papal dogma. You know what he always says? If you're hoping for any kind of a change on the policy, forget it. Thou shalt not take the pill. This is what the Pope says. Thou shalt not take the pill. Yeah, I say, if you don't play the game, mate, don't make the rules. Be fair. Well, you are fair. What a fair group. And that's my dear friend Laurie Holloway, who has played for every major star living on and dead, many of them dead, but most of them living. For Cleo Lane and great Sarah Vaughan, Frank Sinatra, and all the great ones. Now you're here with me. The peak of your endeavor. You're off again tomorrow? I am. Yeah. He flies all over the world, Laurie. Someone said to me today about you, I didn't know this, Laurie Holloway's always jetting off an aircraft. What is that, nerves? Was that? Do something about that. It's horrible, Laurie. Get medical help or something, Laurie. Carry a thermos, an empty thermos. And of course, you told me that joke, and I've never forgotten it. Laurie told me a joke. He said, this joke never misses, Bob. Absolutely never misses. And of course, he's right. Musicians are always right about these things. And it's a lovely story, because I don't say anything rude in this story. Nothing really rude. And we're keeping it clean tonight for the video. For example, I don't mention the male member by its Latin name. I say thingy in this story. I say thingy. Isn't that sweet? I mean, that melts your heart, doesn't it? How adorable. And I don't speak of sexual activity as anything more than hanky-panky. Hanky-panky. See, all clean for the children. It's a story about Mrs. Noah. This is a marvelous story. You'll love this story. Always goes very well. Mrs. Noah says to Noah, if we're going to have animals, one male, one female, of every kind on this ark for a cruise of 40 days and 40 nights, what are we going to do about the non-stop hanky-panky? See? Subtle. You don't have to be coarse. And Noah said, I've got an idea. As each male creature comes on board the ark, it must hang its thingy on the wall. See? Don't need dirty language, do you? Hang its thingy on the wall. And at the end of the cruise, each male creature can get its thingy back. And that's what happened. And the male monkey said to the female monkey, I'm going to give you the night of your life tonight. And the female monkey said, how can you be so sure? And the... And the male monkey said, I've got the elephant's cloakroom ticket. You know, that joke usually goes much better than that. I think the stripper's probably a mistake. I think the joke is spoiled by the stripper, frankly. I know. I gather that. Well. If you had another one, would you know what to do with that either? I don't think the interruption helped the joke. Well, what could I do? If you're married to a woman who just hates your being the center of attention, she will interrupt at the worst. Irritating times. She's 62, you know. That's a rubber body stocking you just saw. She moves well. That's the caffeine. She's had 14 cups of coffee before she came on. The whole head's false. The tits were flown in from Germany this morning. See, the joke was, sir, that all the male animals had hung their thingies on the wall. And the monkey said to the female monkey, I'm going to give you... No, never mind. These days, you fool around, you can catch infections that kill you. You know this. I'm so nervous about this virus. I'll tell you how nervous I am. I'm wearing a condom now. I'm really scared. I went to see this doctor. I went privately. I'll give you the information for nothing. I don't like to see this man. I don't go willingly to see my doctor. He's weird. Wants me to grab him and cough. There's something wrong. He gave me a complete rectal examination. Later I thought, why were both his hands on my shoulders? Still can't figure that out. The reason I went to him was this. I was afraid that I could catch this disease of which we speak by accident. Because do you remember, in the old days, a guy would come back from overseas, maybe he'd been in the forces, the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, and he'd caught a little infection, a little social inconvenience, an itch. And he'd say, why, I don't know how I got this. I haven't been with anyone. I must have got it off a toilet seat. Do you remember this? Getting it off a toilet seat? This was VD. Do you remember VD? My God, it seems adorable now, doesn't it? So I said to him, is it possible an innocent man such as myself could catch this terrible disease from a toilet seat? And do you know what he said? Do you know what he said? Yes. Yes. He said, if you sit down before the other fellas got up. At my age, you have to be very careful. You know, you want to know how long you're going to live. So he gave me a complete medical examination. At one point, we got two complete. I was bending over like this. He said, do you mind if I insert one finger? I said, insert two. I'd like a second opinion. So he did. I said, is there any way I can help you? He said, don't whistle. Okay, okay. He checked my blood count, he checked my pulse rate, he checked everything, and then he said, you wouldn't believe this. He said, I want a sperm count. I said, what are you talking about? Man of my age, a sperm count? You're kidding. Because, you know, when you're a young man, and you actually erupt. I said to my wife the other day, isn't it amazing that it takes a young man 500,000 sperm to fertilize one egg? I wonder why that is. She said, because they're men and they won't ask for bloody directions. He said, here's a specimen jar, he said. He said, I'd like you to put a sample in that. I said, what now? He said, if possible, yes, now. I said, I can't do it now. I said, you know, if I were a young man, every 5 minutes I could have done it. But I'm an older man now. I really can't do that. He said, well, take the jar home and do it as soon as you can and bring it back. He said, you fill it. I said, fill it? He said, give me a measurable specimen and come back with it. I said, all right. No, I'm in misery now, this bloody jar. I'll take it home, I'll go in the bathroom. It's years since I locked myself in the bathroom, ladies and gentlemen. It's a humiliating thing for a man of my age to have to do this. Well, I thought, well, try it differently than you used to, so I tried it with my left hand. I thought it might be a novelty, you know. I damn nearly sprained my wrist after 10 minutes, you know. So I've got a dodgy elbow, but I switched to the right hand. Still no result, so I called on the wife to help. She wrapped a cloth around it and tried both hands. She said... Well, that went on for about half an hour, then her mother had to go, bless her. What a woman, what a woman. She tried it with her teeth in, she tried it with her teeth. Ladies and gentlemen, we could not get the lid off that bloody jar.